Hello everyone, and thank you for coming back to my channel. In this journey of recounting the love story between CEO James and Lytutien Deep, each episode captures a deeply emotional slice of their lives, sometimes gentle, sometimes heartbreakingly intense. And today, I want to take you into a completely new chapter, where everything that once seemed calm is suddenly thrown into chaos by an unexpected event. In this episode, a shocking revelation strikes like lightning on a clear day, completely changing Deep's life. A truth is uncovered, one that not only stuns her but also shakes the very foundations of what she once believed. James, who has always stood by her side, is inevitably pulled into the whirlpool as well. But what makes this moment truly powerful isn't the twist itself, it's how the two of them choose to face it. Will they hold tightly to each other's hands, or let go to protect themselves from further pain? Sometimes, love isn't what helps us forget the past, it's what gives us the strength to confront it. The story of James and Deep in this episode will show you exactly that. Real love isn't just about sweet words in peaceful times, but about compassion and understanding when the storm hits. If you've ever believed that destiny is something pre-written, this episode might just change your mind. Because sometimes, it only takes a moment, a secret revealed, a single tear falling, to change a person's life forever. Watch the full video to experience the full range of emotions this story brings. And if you see a part of yourself in this story, in the faith, the pain, or the longing for someone genuine, then please don't look away. Because this journey might just be a part of your own. Thank you for being with the channel all this time. Let's continue to follow James and Deep, and see, after everything, whether love is strong enough to carry them forward together. Life in the peaceful countryside flowed quietly day by day. That morning, like so many others, Deep went up the hill early to pick melons. Under the gentle morning sun, the golden, plump fruits were carefully selected and placed into the basket on her back. Her face remained calm, but in her quiet eyes lay an ocean of unnamed memories. Each step along the red dirt path leading to the market seemed to awaken stories that had long lain dormant. But that day did not unfold like the others. Right at a familiar bend in the road, where a row of shrubs cast a cool shade, Deep suddenly saw a man walking toward her. She froze. He stopped too. It was Pao, the man who once called her his wife. The man who had left the deepest scar in her youth. Gone was the rough and cold demeanor of the past. Pao now appeared gentler, somewhat thinner, but his eyes held a strange calmness. He greeted her, softly and respectfully, as if speaking to an old acquaintance, not someone he'd once hurt so deeply. "You're still living in the village? How's everything going?" Pao asked, his voice deep, but not pressing. Deep tightened her grip on the strap of her basket. Unwanted memories suddenly rushed in like a wave of cold water slamming against her chest. She tried to remain composed, avoided meeting his gaze, and gave only short, distant replies, like people often do when confronting a painful past. Pao seemed to understand. He didn't step closer. He simply stood there, saying that he had changed. That he had given up drinking, left his old ways behind, and was trying to start over, to live as a better man. He asked for no forgiveness, and expected nothing. He only said, if possible, he hoped she would no longer be afraid of him. Deep said nothing more. She gave a slight nod, like bowing to close a conversation. Then she turned away, walking off with steady shoulders, though her heart wavered. Was the basket on her back heavy from melons, or was it the weight of lingering memories slowing her steps? Seeing someone from the past, especially someone who once caused such pain, was never something Deep had wished for. But she knew, she was no longer the same Deep she once was. And even if that wound may never fully heal, at least now, she was strong enough to walk past it, on her own 2 feet. Pao no longer looked fierce. His eyes were deeper, calmer, and carried something changed, like time had stripped away all the recklessness, leaving only a man marked by regret and silence. "Let me help," he said, softly, but firmly. Deep hesitated for a moment. But whether it was the absence of danger in his gaze, or the growing weight on her shoulders from the basket, she quietly nodded. Pao took the basket from her and slung it over his back with practiced ease, as if the memory of doing this was still there. Only now, it wasn't done in a drunken haze, but in a moment of belated clarity. They walked on, side by side, without saying another word. The distance between them still existed, but it was no longer filled with hatred. Instead, it was a silent wall of caution, built from pain, and gently rebuilt with a fragile kind of respect. From afar, James stepped down from his car. He had planned to help Diep set up her market stall, but the sight in front of him made him stop cold. Diep, the woman he loved, was walking beside another man, letting him carry her basket. And that man was none other than Pau. James felt a sharp pang, not of jealousy, but of concern. Concern for Diep, and for whatever was unfolding before him. He knew Diep's past. He knew the shadows Pau had cast on her life. And he couldn't be at peace seeing her face that darkness again. Still, he didn't rush in. After Diep entered the market, James calmly approached Pau and asked for a private conversation. No raised voices, no tension, just the quiet firmness of a man who needed clarity. They sat at a roadside tea house, simple, but quiet enough for honesty. Pau met James' gaze, unflinching. He spoke of his downward spiral, the lonely nights in an empty room after Diep left. He admitted he had once blamed her, even hated her. But eventually, it was sobriety that forced him to face the truth about himself, a failure, a selfish man, waking up far too late. Pau said he wasn't asking for Diep to return. He didn't even hope for forgiveness. He only wanted a chance to prove, just once, that he had changed. Not to win her back, but to redeem himself. When he saw Diep with James, he saw the peace in her smile, the gentleness in her eyes. And he knew, she had found someone who deserved her. He only wanted to bless her happiness. James was silent. He hadn't expected to hear these words from the man who had once been Diep's nightmare. But Pau's words, without excuses, without tears, rang true. They made him believe. Believe in redemption. Believe that people can change, if they have truly faced their guilt and their loneliness. James thanked Pau. Thanked him for not causing Diep any more pain. He said, if Pau ever found himself in hardship, he'd be willing to help, not for Pau's sake, but because a part of Diep's past would always be tied to him. Pau didn't answer with many words. Just a nod. His eyes were red, but calm. There was no handshake. But there didn't need to be. In that moment, two men, once on opposite ends of a love story, met not to compete, but to bring closure. To end the chapter of resentment, and begin one written in decency. From that day on, they never sought each other out again. But if they were to cross paths, they would nod in quiet acknowledgement, like two men who had walked through a harsh turn in life, and now simply wished to live peacefully, without hurting anyone, including themselves. After that heartfelt conversation with Pau, James felt more certain than ever about his decision, to build a stable, lasting, and fulfilling life with Diep. It was no longer just about love. It was about creating a true home, where she didn't have to be strong all the time, where every storm in her life could be calmed by peace. James returned to his work at the lumber workshop, the place he had spent years building from the ground up. But this time, he wasn't working as just a manager or a talented CEO. He was a man nurturing a dream of his own. He began venturing deep into the forest, where ancient trees towered over the wild landscape, to personally select the wood for a special project. A small farm he wanted to build, for Diep. He didn't leave the task to subordinates. He inspected each log himself, tracing the grain, pressing his hand against the bark, studying the color, testing the strength, even listening to the sound it made when the saw bit into the wood. To others, it was technical work. But for James, it was personal. Because he believed that to build a home that truly lasts, one needs not just a strong foundation, but also a heart poured into every piece of it. He took notes on the finest timber, those with a natural fragrance, resistant to warping and termites, perfectly suited for the climate where Diep lived. Because the wooden home he dreamed of wouldn't be a luxurious mansion. It would be a humble, nature-blended house, warm and serene, just like Diep herself. James had already pictured it so vividly in his mind. A small farm nestled among the trees, a wooden fence draped in wildflowers, a wide veranda where Diep could sip tea in the mornings, hanging gourds and vines she loved, and even a small workshop so he could still work close to her. He hadn't told her, because he wanted it to be a surprise. But every nail he hammered, every plank he selected, carried a silent promise. That he would be the one to build her home, not just with materials, but with devotion and love. In the golden light of the forest, James stood quietly among the towering trees, his hand resting on rough bark, eyes gazing beyond the leaves. And in his heart, there was only one image. Diep, smiling in the sun-drenched courtyard of their wooden home. And he knew, every effort was worth it. Because he wasn't just building a farm. He was cultivating a future, one with love, with forgiveness, with peace. And with her. During the days James was busy preparing to build the farm, he didn't hide his plans from his mother. He shared with her the dream he had been quietly nurturing, a peaceful place where he and Diep could live together, far from the noise and judgment of the world. A wooden house, simple yet strong, just like the love they had built through so many trials. As James spoke, his mother didn't say much. She simply sat in silence, eyes thoughtful yet glowing with warmth. She knew her son had grown, not just because he managed a large timber workshop or made big business decisions, but because now, he knew how to love and care for a woman with his whole heart and through his actions. She didn't pry into Diep's past. All she needed was to see James's eyes light up every time he mentioned her name. That was enough. She knew, this woman was someone worth protecting, someone her son had chosen with all seriousness. And deep down, in a mother's intuition, she could feel that Diep wasn't just any girl. Her life must have known its share of loss, but that only made her stronger, and all the more deserving of a lasting love. So when James began transporting the carefully chosen timber from the forest to his workshop, then meticulously planning every small house in the farmstead, his mother didn't stand aside. She quietly observed, sometimes stopping to ask him about the layout, the design, how to make the space warm and inviting. Some days, she even contributed small traditional handmade items, embroidered curtains, simple ceramic vases, things she believed would match the natural beauty of the home James was building. Even if I'm not the one raising the walls or laying the roof, she told James as he proudly showed her his blueprint. If one day you and Diep need a bit of advice, or even just a hand to help cook your first meal in that new kitchen, I'll be right here, ready. To her, James wasn't just building a house, he was building a home. And as a mother, she understood, this was a defining moment in her son's life. The moment a man chooses someone to walk beside him forever, and is ready to give her the very best of himself. In her heart, there was a quiet joy. Not loud, not showy, but a sincere, peaceful happiness of a mother playing a small part in her child's journey to build a home. And she knew, when the first house on that farm was finally complete, it wouldn't be just James and Diep who felt joy. Her heart, too, would smile, gently and contentedly. That afternoon, the sky was gentler than usual. The sun was soft, the wind still, and Diep's garden was filled with the delicate scent of newly blossomed chrysanthemums. She was quietly tidying up the yard, trimming dry branches in preparation for the evening. James was coming over for dinner, and she wanted everything around the house to feel neat, peaceful. Every time he came, even if she never said it aloud, Diep always felt a little brighter inside, as if a warm golden light had been lit in a home that once knew only coldness. But then, the wooden gate creaked open with a sudden click. Diep looked up, and her heart clenched. It was Pau. He stood there empty-handed, his face calm, yet his eyes held something unreadable. Diep froze, her fingers tightening around the broom. She didn't speak, but her gaze made her guard clear. Even though Pau no longer carried the rage of the past, the fear he had once carved deep into her had never fully faded. Pau stepped inside slowly, keeping his distance. His voice, hoarse but steady, broke the silence. I didn't come to bother you. I just need to tell you something. A truth you should have known a long time ago. Diep said nothing. Her grip on the broom remained firm, eyes never leaving him. Pau hesitated, then spoke again. Your birth parents are still alive. They were never gone, as you were told. His words fell like a lightning strike from a clear sky. Diep stood stunned, eyes wide, lips trembling, but no sound came. No, that's not possible. What are you saying? She took a step back, not out of fear, but because her entire world was suddenly spinning. Pao nodded, his expression grave. There was no trace of jest in his eyes. Back then, your aunt, the one who brought you to live with us, lied. She told you your parents had passed away because she was afraid you'd try to escape to find them. So she made up the story. I heard this from a distant relative, someone who came looking for you years ago, but was turned away. The air around Diep seemed to freeze. Inside, something cracked, not in pain, but like a shaft of light breaking into the deepest shadows of her soul. All those years, she had lived believing she was abandoned, that no one remained. Every dream of her parents had felt like a fading illusion. And now, just one sentence had shattered the world she thought she knew. And revealed another one, still fragile, maybe painful, but full of hope. She finally managed to whisper, her voice choked. Do you know where they are? Pao shook his head, regret clouding his face. No. I only know they're alive. I don't know where they are. I once thought about helping you search for them. But I no longer have the right. I just hope, telling you this truth is the least I can do, to make up for everything I've done. Those words made Diep's tears fall, but not from fear or pain. It felt, almost like release. For the first time, she thanked Pao, from the heart. Thank you, for telling me. I don't know where to begin. But at least now I know, I'm not alone. Pao bowed his head. Diep saw a flicker of relief in his eyes. Perhaps the last piece of humanity in him, buried beneath all the wrongs, had just been saved. He said goodbye. He didn't linger. When his figure disappeared behind the wooden gate, Diep was still standing there, her tears not yet dry. She sat down on the steps. Her hand pressed gently against her chest, where her heart was beating wildly. And in her mind, only one thought echoed over and over. They're alive. My parents are still alive. But can Diep truly find her family again, those she was torn away from before she could even remember the faces of her parents? Can the scattered fragments of memory come together, forming a path that leads her back to her roots, to the embrace of a father, a mother, and the siblings she never got the chance to meet? And James, the man who has given his whole heart to love and protect Diep, will he be able to walk beside her to the very end of that journey? A journey not just to find someone, but to find herself again. To reclaim the pieces of a soul that was shattered in childhood? The road ahead will surely not be easy. There may be broken leads, closed doors, and crossroads that leave Diep questioning what's real and what's not. But perhaps, somewhere in the currents of life, a miracle is waiting. As if fate still owes her a family, a true home, and the ending she deserves. Stay tuned for the next episode to witness this deeply emotional journey unfold. Diep's story is not just a search for family. It is a journey of reclaiming trust, love, and forgiveness. And who knows? You, watching this now, might just see a part of yourself in her path. See you in the next episode.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình đưa đến cho mọi người câu chuyện tình yêu của CEO James và Lý Tử Diệp. Như mọi người cũng đã biết thì ở tập trước thì James và Diệp đã trải qua rất là nhiều khó khăn. Hiện tại cuộc sống của họ đã ổn định hơn. Tưởng chừng là cuộc sống của hai người sẽ trôi qua êm đẹp như thế, nhưng mà không. Trong tập này thì đã có một diễn biến rất là bất ngờ, cũng có thể nói là một biến cố đánh dấu cho cái cuộc sống của Diệp. Khi Pao, người chồng cũ của Diệp, lần này thì anh ta đã thay đổi, không còn với hành vi bạo hành hay là muốn Diệp quay lại với mình nữa, mà anh ta đã sống lương thiện và tử tế hơn, cũng như là anh ta đã đưa đến một thông tin vô cùng sốc về thân thế của Diệp. Anh ta cho Diệp biết rằng hiện tại cha mẹ cô vẫn đang còn sống. Điều đó khiến Diệp vô cùng cảm động, vì trong những năm tháng trước kia cô sống thì cô cứ nghĩ là mình không còn người thân, không còn gia đình. Vậy thì liệu từ thông tin Pao cung cấp, Diệp có thể tìm lại được gia đình mình không? Thì mời mọi người đón xem tập tiếp theo ở ngày mai nha.